What is up, everybody? Welcome into the show. I'm Chase, senior host of the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. He is Will Ortner, host of Seahawks Today. We're going to preview this Niners-Seahawks divisional round game. Kickoff set for Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the third installment of this rivalry during the 2025 season. And Will, I want to begin on the injury front. A lot of fascinating injuries going on that could obviously play big roles in this game on the Niners sideline and the Seahawks sideline. And a big injury for Seattle is a player who's been out for about a month at this point, and that is left tackle Charles Cross, who the Seahawks gave a massive contract extension to on January 4th, former first-round pick. They gave him over $100 million. What is going on with him? Because earlier in the week, it looked as though he was definitely going to play, and now his injury status is a little bit up in the air.
I wish I could tell you exactly what was going on with Charles Cross, Chase, because I came into the week saying we got our guy back, everything is sunshine, rainbows, ponies are running around, unicorns are living in this world, and then all of a sudden it's not only is he a limited participant in practice on Wednesday, but a new injury has popped up. Originally, Cross went down with a hamstring injury. I don't know why he tried to do the splits, probably didn't do it on purpose. In that Indianapolis Colts game when Myers kicked the game-winning field goal, he's been out since then. Now, with the limited participation in practice, it had something to do with a knee injury as well. Is that something that's going to be able to keep him out for this game? That would be terrifying for me because his backup, Josh Jones, has not practiced all week long. So that means that the Seahawks would then have to turn over to Amari Kite, a guy who has 4 snaps all freaking year long. Look, I know that doesn't sound good to me. Probably sounds pretty great to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 49ers pass rush has really struggled, of course, since losing Nick Bosa to the torn ACL, Michael Williams as well. San Francisco is dead last in the NFL in sacks, and I was really impressed with what Robert Saleh's defense did against Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense in the wild card round. But it's not like they were able to generate a lot of pressure. I think Jalen Hurts' average time to throw was about 4 seconds. So he was able to operate from a very clean pocket. But if you take Cross away from that Seahawks offense and that offensive line, it doesn't just impact their passing game. I think it impacts their running game as well. And under Klint Kubiak, that is something that they really want to establish is running the football. And you think back to what happened in Week 18 at Levi's Stadium as the Seahawks dominated the Niners and they got that number 1 seed, the first-round bye and home field advantage, which is why this game is happening at Lumen Field in Seattle. They ran the football 39 times for nearly 200 yards. Charles Cross did not play in that game, but when you have him, he just adds another dimension to that offense. And we've seen the value of Trent Williams and how he makes everybody better along that Niners offensive line. That's what Charles Cross does with Seattle. On the Niners front, what's happening with Fred Warner is fascinating. And Will and I, we look at each other and sit across from one another inside the bullpen here at Chat Sports HQ. Earlier in the week, Will's like, Fred Warner's not playing, right? And I'm like, no way. But as the week has progressed and as Fred Warner has been on the field, he's bouncing around. He's looking healthy. He's hitting the sled. He's accelerating, decelerating. He's doing a back pedal. He's nodding his head as he's running by the media saying, I'm looking pretty damn good. So at this point, I think there is a real chance that Fred Warner can play in this game. The Niners don't have to make a decision until 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. I also think there's a little bit of gamemanship happening from Kyle Shanahan. He doesn't want to play his hand and tell Seattle what's happening with Fred Warner. And I imagine that's how you're feeling too, in addition to all Seahawks fans who are like, is number 54 going to be playing in this game? I don't think anybody knows.
Well, I went into it kind of thinking, hey, Fred Warner isn't going to be able to play this week. Maybe he tries to give it a go at practice and putting himself in a position to where he's ready to fly around in the NFC Championship game. I mean, shoot, on Seahawks Today, we had a video earlier in the week where I literally asked, did the Seahawks dodge a bullet? Where I said, hey, I don't know that Fred Warner is going to be able to go, but I'll tell you right now, he's going to do everything in his power to make sure he's able to get out on the field. And unfortunately, I feel like I've almost spoke it into existence that Fred Warner is going to be able to play in this matchup. And it makes sense, though, that the 49ers don't want to tip their hand here because the Seahawks are actually doing something similar. Now, not with a player to the caliber of talent of Fred Warner or necessarily the impact, but you're seeing the same thing happen with Seattle and Elijah Arroyo. Now, Arroyo has been on IR for the Seahawks, dealing with an injury that he suffered, not able to go as kind of that second tight end for Seattle. But when you look at the difference between Arroyo being on the field and not being on the field, the rushing numbers go up, the expected performance per play goes up, the yards per play go up. Arroyo is a special talent, not necessarily because of the stats that he's put on the field for the Seahawks, but because of what he forces other opposing defenses to be able to do. They have to be able to have a player on him that can cover, as well as try and attack him in the run game because he's such a good blocker. Now, he's been a full participant in practice the last 2 days for Seattle, but they have only designated him to return to practice. They have not allowed him to be back on the active roster and activated him from the injured reserve. I believe that he will be active and he will play in this game on Saturday night. But I'll tell you right now, if that report has to go live at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we are not going to hear word on Arroyo until 3:59:59. That's just how Mike McDonald rolls.
Okay, so Will and I are recording this show Thursday afternoon, and we just got some more breaking injury news for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not kidding, just to get a reaction out of Will Ortner here. Quarterback Sam Darnold has been added to the injury report with an oblique injury. He is questionable for Saturday's divisional round game against the Niners. Of course, that has major implications in this game as well. If he can't play, it's...
Of course.
Who would be the backup?
It's Drew Lock.
It would be Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. Okay. You're not going to have to learn Jalen Milroe yet,
Okay,
buddy.
so Jalen Milroe is not the backup. It's Drew Lock.
It's Drew Lock. Yep.
Holy cow. Your reaction to that live.
My instant reaction, not good, Bob. I hate every part of that. Now, I still think that he's going to be okay, but I hate to kind of draw this comparison. We saw last year, if you're a big college football fan, how an oblique injury can affect a quarterback. If you watch Quinn Ewers play at Texas, the difference in how he was able to throw the ball deep down the field at the beginning of the year, post the injury to his oblique, was night and day. He wasn't able to push the ball down the field nearly as well as he had been at the beginning of the year, and you saw a Texas offense really suffer from that. What could that mean for Seattle? I'll tell you right now, I'm terrified. What were the Seahawks doing during their bye week? Were you practicing with pitchforks and knives at practice? Did you go to the Aaron Donald school of we got to do all of these drills with legit kitchen and steak knives? There's no reason that the Seahawks should be getting worse injury news as the week goes on when you just had a bye week to get yourself healthy. Now, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this is just something where, hey, he needed a little bit of extra, an extra training room session or some extra work with one of the trainers over at the Seahawks. But I'll tell you right now, a core injury to a quarterback, especially a position where you're so much rotational when you're trying to throw the football, I don't feel good about it.
Klint Kubiak said that backup quarterback Drew Lock got reps with the Seahawks starting offense today, 2 days as we're recording this. Show's probably going to come out on Saturday morning before this playoff game against the Niners. And you mentioned something that is so important. And when I started to get into fitness, I'm not as big or as yoked up as Will Ortner, the former college football player. One of the best things I did was read the TB12 Method, book by Tom Brady, and he talked about functional movement and functional strength. For instance, for Tom Brady, he never really was a big bench press guy. Why do you need a bench press if you're a quarterback? It doesn't make sense. You don't need to have ripped six-pack abs if you're a quarterback, but you want to have some strength there because of the torque on your throws and what you're putting on the midsection of your body, but also the hits that you're taking in the midsection as well. And so an oblique injury for a quarterback, it is a big deal, and it is a big red flag for the Seahawks going into this game. A lot more to get into here with our Seahawks-Niners preview. We'll talk more X's and O's on the other side, but first I do want to get to our sponsor. Today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or you're making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. New feature alert, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. And you can also find your community on Prize Picks. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. And Prize Picks has a great special as the divisional round of the playoffs is underway. 99% off CJ Stroud max discount. All he has to do against New England is throw for 1 or more passing yards. It's half, more or less, on the passing yards right there. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, I think here at Chat Sports, we do a really good job of having thought-provoking conversations, very informative conversations. And a talking point that I've been thinking about this week is that you have the Seattle Seahawks, number 1 seed, home field advantage, first round bye, they're at home, but the pressure is on the Seahawks. The
100%.
Niners are playing with house money here. They're so injured. They have the lowest odds to win the Super Bowl of any team. I think it's plus 2,000 right now among the teams left. They went on the road. They upset the Philadelphia Eagles as 6-point underdogs. Now they're touchdown underdogs against Seattle, and they're kind of going about this week in a very free-flowing manner. Kyle Shanahan doesn't look stressed. He looks very relaxed. The players are going out there. They're thinking maybe they get back Fred Warner. That's adding to the mojo for San Francisco. Do you, from the Seahawks fan base standpoint, feel a little bit of pressure from the Seattle point of view going into this game against the Niners?
Yeah, I feel it right here because that's apparently where everyone feels it in Seattle, right in that oblique muscle, for those of you who don't know, because Reek Woolen has one too. Yeah, I was having a conversation with Joey Peterson today, another great Chat Sports host, where he asked, how confident do you feel? And I said, I'm scared of how confident I feel in the Seahawks. I'll tell you right now, I don't feel all that confident. When you look at an injury report that just every single day adds another star player from the Seahawks team onto that injury report, I do feel the pressure. I feel a little bit of nervousness around this team because who wins in the playoffs? Teams with great defenses that also stay healthy. And the Seahawks team right now, yes, we have the great defense, but we're not staying healthy. And if Sam Darnold is not able to really throw the football and sling the rock that he needs the way he needs to if the Seahawks are going to win this game, then the Seahawks have to rely on the ground game. That means that this game is going to be close. And in a close football game, all you need is one weird bounce. All you need is the ball to bounce off a CMC Weird into Drake Thomas's hands for an interception, and that can be the game-sealing win. And that's what happened in Week 18. I don't know that that's what's going to happen for the Seahawks or for the 49ers if everyone is not healthy and ready to go. But whenever you have a coin flip type of a game, like this game is starting to feel more and more like every single week, yeah, I'll tell you right now, I'm a little tight over here, and I think a lot of Seahawk fans should be a little tight as well.
Officially no Fred Warner for this game, by the way. Kyle Shanahan said that Fred Warner looked good at practice Thursday, and he's confident that Warner has put himself in a good position to play in a potential NFC Championship game if the Niners were to beat Seattle in advance. I do want to talk Kyle Shanahan against Mike Macdonald. It's a great matchup.
Yep.
You have Kyle Shanahan, the offensive play caller and play designer for the Niners, and his scheme is all across the NFL. Then you have Mike Macdonald, who is one of the brightest, best up-and-coming young defensive minds in the sport. You have Vic Fangio, who's kind of the OG, and then on the other side of that, you have Mike Macdonald, who's the younger guy. I still believe he's the youngest head coach in the National Football League. I believe still, right?
I believe so. I don't know who would have passed
Either
him.
way,
he's in his 30s.
Really turning a lot of heads with what he's doing from a play calling standpoint, personnel standpoint, and what he's doing from a scheme point of view on the defensive side of the ball. And in games that Kyle Shanahan has gone up against Mike Macdonald, he's averaging about 18 points per game. And Shanahan's points per game by season as the head coach of the Niners from 2017 forward here: 20.7, 21.4, 29.9, 23.5, 25.1, 26.5, 28.9, 22.9 this year, 25.7. So it's all the way down to 18 against Mike Macdonald. Why is Mike Macdonald, Will, so successful against Kyle Shanahan with his defense against this Shanahan offense?
Well, he does a great job of winning the chess match. What Shanahan, Sean McVay, LaFleur as well over in Green Bay, they all do a great job of using motions to kind of figure out what the defense is about to do, and then they exploit that weakness by letting their quarterback make changes at the line of scrimmage. What McDonald does a great job of doing is never really tipping his hand. And what McDonald also has done a great job of is clear defensive line development. So what you are seeing from the defensive line in Leonard Williams, with Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, Uchenna Nwosu, and even back in his time when he was over in Baltimore with a guy like Justin Madubuike, right? You're seeing career years from these guys. Now, some of it is a little bit of technique, some of it is scheme design, and then some of it is the players themselves getting the most out of what their potential is. And that has allowed him, in his understanding of the line of scrimmage and the battles in the trenches, has allowed McDonald to build one of the best defenses in the entire National Football League. So much so that you see a disciple of his, Jesse Minter, now being one of the hot head coach candidates in this upcoming NFL offseason head coaching search. And frankly, I think he's going to get a job. It's because he is the kryptonite to what these offenses are doing, because he's doing the same thing just from the opposite side of the football. And what you've seen from McDonald with great success year in and year out is an intense militaristic style that really helps push the players forward in a way that almost like a general would. It's like a General Sherman type of attack when it comes to offenses. What I will be interested to see, because I do think this is where the game will lie, can CMC and Trent Williams rush for more than, let's say, 70 yards or so in this matchup? If CMC is able to run for more yards specifically on that left side than what he did in the first two matchups, I do believe that the 49ers will put themselves in the best position to win the game, because they will control the time of possession, which no matter how good you scheme up a game, no matter how well your players are playing defensively, they will get tired if the opposing offense has the ball for too long.
For Niner fans who are watching Mike McDonald's defense, in this game against Kyle Shanahan's offense, just watch what he's doing pre-snap and post-snap, right? You're going to see heavy disguises. You're going to see a lot of post-snap rotation. You're going to see a lot of four-man pressures with some stunts. What I think is so incredible about the Seahawks personnel, positional versatility and multiplicity from players. They're so good in stopping the run. I think they're very suffocating in short yardage situations and in the red zone. They do such a great job with that too high shell of limiting explosive plays. And Mike McDonald, a sign of a good coach and a culture builder, do your players hustle? Do they rally to the football? Oh, yeah. You see that with the Seahawks team as well. Also want to talk Jackson Smith and Jigba. A lot of people thought he was going to have a breakout year this year. He's had that breakout year. Mm-hmm. How good has he been all season long? He's just such a mismatch nightmare. And I love how Klint Kubiak uses him too.
Yeah, well, what you're seeing is a player that I think a lot of people in Seattle were hopeful for what he would become, but no one could have seen this happening. JSN is not only winning on the inside, which is the slot receiver. That was a position that everyone kind of knew he would be great at. What you're seeing him actually win the most on is when he's outside on the edges, and he does a great job of running crisp routes, and I think JSN might have the best one-cut ability that I've seen since Chad Ochocinco. And what I mean by that is knowing where he needs to cut on the field. JSN speeds up his route or slows down his route to get cornerbacks to get out of their back pedal. And what I mean by that is when you see corners backpedaling down like this, they are trying to set themselves to be up in a situation where they can break forward on the football if the receiver stops to go and either run a slant or run an in or run a hitch. What JSN does a great job of is disguising what he is truly running. So you'll see a lot of times where cornerbacks will start to run backwards like they're worried he's going to beat them deep, and he immediately puts on the brakes, 1-2 step, and he's turning around and catching the football. He also does a great job with his head movement. You'll see JSN run a lot, and he's moving his head from side to side in a way that makes the cornerback think that he's going to go to the right when really he knows he's going to go to the left, or vice versa. They always tell you when you're young in football to stare at the guy's hips. Well, even the NFL players make those mistakes, and you're seeing JSN really take advantage of that. And Kubiak has done a great job as well. While the running attack for Seattle isn't otherworldly, let's just say that, it is still something that other teams have to be ready for. And what Seattle does a great job of understanding is when teams commit that extra guy into the box for that rushing attack, JSN is usually going to be left by himself in a one-on-one matchup. And Sam Darnold just spams the JSN button. And for whatever reason, this year, more often than not, it's a damn good play.
Before we hop on out of here, just real quick, just rattle off some keys to the game for the Seahawks to win. I'll do the same for the Niners here.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to magically get healthier. I don't know what you have to do. I don't know what magnesium you have to take, whatever, over the counter. Just get healthier, and I don't know how you do that. Obviously, in more of a gameplay standpoint, Seattle's got to get home with 4. When Seattle has won football games this year, it's because their defensive line has done a great job of getting into the backfield. Can DeMarcus Lawrence, who has been on the injury report, come up big in this game again? Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall. They have to find a way to get after Brock Purdy, make him uncomfortable because he can be susceptible to turnovers. Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, them as well up the middle. And then on the offensive side of the football, we saw it in Week 18. When you run the football, you win football games. And it feels like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet have done a great job the last month or so of really understanding how this long outside zone scheme works and where to look for the holes and when to hit them at the appropriate time. Early on in the year, they really struggled with that. They are not struggling right now, and that's why you're seeing more and more big explosive play runs happen for Seattle. Especially if your quarterback's going to be dealing with a core injury, you better be able to run the football and control time of possession in this one.
Great stuff from Will right there. And for the Niners, offense has to be a lot better than they were in Week 18. Of course, 3 points is not going to cut it, and I think it starts with the offensive line. That's in pass protection. That's also running the ball. The Niners were not good in either of those areas against this vaunted Seahawks defense in Week 18. San Francisco also has to stop the run. In Week 18, I thought Seattle did a great job of hogging the ball. They possessed the ball for about 37 minutes of that game. They ran it 39 times. If they do that and they keep that Niners offense on the sideline, San Francisco's offense, which is rhythm-based, gets a little bit stagnant. And can the Niners do what they haven't done in 2 games against Sam Darnold this season, generate that big turnover, which can obviously impact the scoreboard, but flip the momentum of the game? I'll be live on the 49ers Report for a watch party. Will Ortner will be live on Seahawks Today for a watch party. Subscribe to both of our channels. Hopefully you enjoyed our preview, and we'll catch you later Saturday night, divisional round for the right to play in the NFC Championship game.